You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Monday the 29th of October. British people rally around Royal Marine Commando. Muslim Labour councillor arrested for street brawl. 7,000 people join the anti-austerity march in Madrid. Invest in Syria, not in Greece. Hurricane Sandy shuts the American eastern seaboard. Syrian planes launch heaviest airstrike against rebels. Facebook being used in Indonesia for girl trafficking. Thought for the day, immigration and our welfare state. And finally, mother gives birth to the Antichrist in Colombia. UK News. The British people have finally found a cause around which they can stand together. The Royal Marine Commandos accused of murdering a Taliban prisoner. In the last few weeks, over 100,000 people have joined several Facebook groups and pages in support of the Royal Marines accused of murder. This weekend, many hundreds of supporters turned out in Plymouth, Manchester, London, Leeds, Edinburgh, Swansea and Norwich to protest the charges and demand the Royal Marines are set free. The only downside was the report in the Daily Mail that a larger London event had been planned, but it was cancelled due to the fears it would be hijacked by the British National Party and the English Defence League. The Daily Mail's claim could not be confirmed through a web search or search of the Facebook pages. The British National Party is calling on all its supporters, members and activists to give their support online. Just go to the Facebook and search for Support the 7 Royal Marines or Free the 5 Royal and then register your support. But beware, the Daily Mail reported it as being trolling through Facebook pictures to find faces of EDL members. One nationalist commented, "It wouldn't surprise me if nationalists went out to newspaper stands in supermarkets and did some real hijacking by placing other non-popular newspapers on top of the Mail pile of rags." Muslim Labour councillor for Bradford has been arrested for a street brawl with 5 other men, including his own son. Labour councillor Abid Hussain was arrested in connection with the brawl, which saw a BMW 5 Series car set on fire. Abid Hussain is the vice president of the Keighley Muslim Association. His son Majid Hussain is appearing in Bradford Crown Court on GBH with intent charges and having an imitation firearm in his possession. A World at 8 reporter commented, "This is the sort of behaviour that you expect from Muslims, but not from councillors. It shows they have no respect for their constituency or their constituents." European news. Catalan leader Artur Mas has told the La Vanguardia newspaper he aims to hold a referendum to ask the question, do you want Catalonia to become a new state within the European Union? The move might come at the same time as the Scottish poll on secession in 2014. A World at 8 spokesman has said, "Secessionist movements are now becoming rife in the EU. The EU was designed to bring Europe together and the euro is now tearing it apart. There are now secessionist movements in Spain, Italy and Holland." 7,000 Spaniards marched through Madrid this weekend to protest anti-austerity measures. The march, named Occupy the Parliament, was stopped in its tracks by metal fencing, which made it impossible for the protesters to carry out the planned occupation of the Spanish Parliament. The reason for the march was spiked by austerity, rising taxes and spending cuts. Police were there in very heavy numbers along with heavily protected riot vans to stem any far-left hijacking of the march. Investment specialists are saying the Greek economy is in such a state that it would be better to invest your money in Syria than to invest it in Greece. The country that is the worst hit by a Eurozone failure can't even get its head towards the surface of the wave of super debt. Although financial experts around the globe say the worst of the financial crash of the last 36 months is coming to an end, the Greek people would say otherwise. Greek officials say the EU IMF lenders have gone out of their way to refuse to give in on reforms. Money is leaving Greece via the Lagarde plug hole for safer havens as reports surfaced that Greek police have arrested a journalist who posted the list of 2,000 Greeks with HSBC bank accounts in Switzerland. The EU has said that Greece must continue with 150 new reforms and that Greece needs another 2 years to stabilise its economy. A World Date writer commented, "I hope that the remark about Syria is a joke. The people of Greece need help, not sarcasm or greed." World news. The United States eastern seaboard has shut down in preparation for Hurricane Sandy. The hurricane is 560 kilometres wide and is reported to be a slow-moving storm which causes more devastation. Heavy rain and strong winds from Hurricane Sandy have started lashing the northeast of the US as forecasters warn New York could bear the brunt of one-of-a-kind superstorm. Sandy is on a collision course with 2 other weather systems, leading to fears it could develop into one of the worst storms on record in the US. The superstorm is threatening up to 50 million people on the heavily populated East Coast, and forecasters say it could wreak havoc over 800 miles from the Atlantic coast to the Great Lakes. Syria's Air Force bombed rebel positions near Aleppo on Sunday, and today they launched their heaviest airstrikes to date against rebel strongholds in Damascus. Casualties are reported being high as the UN-sponsored ceasefire is thrown out of the window. The continuing conflict in Syria is being reported as a civil war by Western press, who are hell-bent on removing President Assad. The ceasefire was part of Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha, which didn't last to the end of the holiday before the rebels decided to carry on with the attack against the government. This year alone, 27 of the 129 children reported missing to Indonesia's National Commission for Child Protection are believed to have been abducted after meeting their captors on Facebook. One of those befriended on the social media site has also been found dead. It is also a month since a 14-year-old girl who was kidnapped from her home on the outskirts of Jakarta was found near a bus terminal on September the 30th. The girl told the Associated Press her harrowing story, during which she survived abduction and rape. It started when she received a Facebook friend request from an older man she didn't know, but she accepted it out of curiosity. She didn't know that he was one of the growing number of sexual predators who had found a new way to exploit Indonesia's increasing obsession with social media. After meeting him once, she met him yet again and climbed into his minivan parked near her home in Depok. The 24-year-old man, who called himself Yogi, locked her in a room with 5 other girls aged 14 to 17, then subjected the youngster to drugs and repeated rape. She lost her virginity in the first violent session. After a week of torture, she was threatened with sex slavery on a neighbouring island, but after being threatened with a beating, they just left her by the road. The Indonesians are mad about technology, and Facebook is being used as a disguise to groom and rape youngsters. This is a growing problem on the Southeast Asian archipelago. Thought for the day: immigration and our welfare state. I'm having a rant today about the condition of our welfare state and the sad fact that today and in the future us Brits will benefit less and less from this singularly splendid Labour brainchild. Facts are facts. You cannot keep giving to strangers when the whole economic situation is out of control. You cannot merge cultures or religions to suit the economic status of a particular country. We are a small island and okay, we have a history of colonialism which apparently gives a few million people around the globe a reason for coming here. But in reality, if we did not have a welfare state, which appears to be blind and deaf, they would not come to the UK. I hear people say, "Oh, but you cannot blame the immigrants," and I say, why not? We are not in Africa or Asia, just over the border from extremely troubled countries. We do not have people staggering over our borders starving or wounded, do we? I see absolutely no reason to take in the vast majority of benefit seekers that we do. In fact, around 600,000 people in the last year, and they are the numbers that are known. It is as if they are all rushing here before even our benefit system gives up, and if it does, it will be the fault of the people who encourage immigration, profit from it, and indeed expect everything from it that is usually gained by working and living in this country for many, many years. For years the British National Party have been warning of the sheer economic danger of paying strangers to live and breed in this small island of ours. But what have we been called? Racists and Nazis. Thus is the ignorance of some of our fellow Brits. The British economy has and still is suffering a recession. Not only a world recession but a European one as well. You do not need to be financially in the know to realise that a country cannot keep paying out vast amounts of money to people who come here by the cartload with their dependents and have not paid or indeed will not contribute anything to our economy. Most non-immigration countries have the same rules: nothing in, nothing out. And this is right even in a country which seems to be on a death wish population wise, and I do not mean British white population. And here I go again. Muslims are the worst offenders, whatever their ethnicity. They are pariahs and should be zero tolerated in Western society. Take the case of Manal Mahmoud, a Palestinian mother of 7 brats who came to the UK in 2000. Though she has never worked here, she has been given a £1.25 million townhouse in West London, which had been renovated at the cost of £76,000. Showing no gratitude, she and her brats wrecked the house. Big issue seller Faruta Vasili, who was not happy with the £25,000 she received from you, Joe Public, went to court to have the rent on her home in Bristol paid for by housing benefit. And yup, she won. Frankly, and you can quote me anytime, the Palestinians should be deported back to the Gaza Strip. Our problem in this country, first of all, is lack of national pride. If you love your country, you do not want to see it go down the pan. But of course I am forgetting the huge Marxist influx into our already socialistly inclined society. Left-wing idiots who are more racist than white supremacists claim immigrants come here to work. Well, bollocks to that one. Dependency on our welfare state is higher amongst many immigrant communities or ghettos than our white indigenous lazies. 90% of newly arrived Somalis live off us. Our government is worried by the state of our national health, even to the matter of making death lists for our elderly, just to sacrifice those people who have lived and contributed to our society for years, and without whom there would be no monies available to pay to foreign pariahs, but it would leave so-called spare cash to pay for newly arrived ethnic crusties. I deem this disgusting even by British standards. It is a wonder that our welfare services are surviving at all in the face of what the last 30 years of almost intensive colonisation from countries that have not been at war for the most part. Of course I blame successive governments as well as successive immigrants. Enoch Powell was not a racist in any sense of the word. It was Enoch who encouraged the West Indians over to our shores to fill the NHS gaps left by the war. But even he saw what could happen in his famous speech. But of course he was ahead of his time and gave his fellow Englishmen the benefit of having some brains. Little did he know that it would take many years for most of them to wake up, and by then it will not be the West Indian immigrants who will bear the brunt of what will happen. Apart from the sodding Muslims, we have a horde of Eastern Europeans who should bloody well go home. I'm not averse to the odd Pole or two, but when we have Polish shops opening up like mushrooms and Eastern European gangs and the ghastly roamers, I fear all is lost. We also have the well-worn and generally stupid idea that we now in this country are paying for colonialism. What rubbish! Were we the only country in the world that colonised? No, we were not. And even then all of our colonies demanded freedom, usually bloodily so. What the hell do they want with us now? The answer is of course money, and the most they can get. It is a sad commentary of a government and a people who actually think that the bulk of these people come here for our benefit. How stupid are you? If I, when I was a widow with children, could have found a country that did not demand I work, educated my kids for free, gave me a much nicer and bigger house, plus the money to run it, free health care and asked few questions, do you think I'd still be here? Nope, probably not. But the country that does all that is Great Britain, and to cap it all, we also do large amounts of foreign aid. Our government acts in the UK as if we all have money to burn. We all pay our taxes just to feed foreign families both abroad and domestic, and that we all should enjoy doing without so that our newcomers can do with. I know of a young single mother in Buckinghamshire who's been given notice on her small rented house because the owners are selling. She has a little girl who has just started school. Now she must make herself homeless with her child in order to qualify for council accommodation, which in her case will probably be a one-room flat if she's very lucky. Further down her road, most of those houses are occupied by Pakistani families newly arrived and on your money. This young mum was born here and she is white, as indeed is her child. How fair is that? What sort of country or society gives strangers homes whilst denying the same right to our own? What sort of country or society kills our elderly whilst supporting immigrant elderly? What sort of country or society promotes foreign religions and cultures in its schools whilst ignoring our own? What sort of country or society would rather see us overrun and outbred rather than halt the tide of immigration? That country is Great Britain and that society is us. If you're one of the us people, you need to change, or the means of changing will not be around long, and neither will the welfare state we have fought so long to pay for and to preserve. And finally, a newborn baby in Colombia can apparently walk by himself and produce fire. Ana Ferreira Santos, 28, gave birth to her son last month, but says her joy quickly turned to fear when she noticed he had several abnormalities. The baby boy can already stand up and walk and can produce fire. This is leading to fears in her town Lorica, which is near the Caribbean coast, that this baby is the devil in disguise and capable of producing fire. This is because burn marks have been found on his clothes and sofa where he sits. The Colombian Family Welfare Institute, the National Police and the Catholic Church have all refused to assert the claims that black magic is involved, and a team of psychologists, a social worker, a nutritionist and a lawyer will now look into the case, with a source saying, "The child shows signs of abuse. The mother of 5 likens her son to Damien in the 1976 horror film The Omen. Santos says he frequently hides around the house, cackles like an adult for hours on end and has an intimidating pair of eyes." Oh dear. A World Date writer comments, "Actually Damien was a normal looking baby and child, and that was the point, he looked normal." Ooh. You've been listening to The World Date. I am Lynn Mozart and I wish you all a very good night.